All right, welcome to today's show. So, Tehran crisis going on versus MSTR and BMNR. Who is going to win? I'm going to give you the full breakdown today. We've got the Tehran escalation. Markets drop Friday. Bitcoin falls very hard and then rebounds today. So it fell all the way down to about 63,000. Bitcoin rebounds up to 67,000. So that's a big jump. And Ethereum also drops into the 1800s and then rebounds into the mid 1900s. So I'm going to jump in today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Tehran crisis, how that's affecting the markets. Also going to get into some news on Jane Street, the new lawsuit that is out in relation to Jane Street and manipulation of the markets. So we're going to talk about that as well. But we're also going to get into how institutions are buying, and I'm going to show you exact facts of the actual institutions that are buying BMNR and MSTR, and I'm going to show you the inflows of institution buying and the outflows of money that's flowing out of BMNR and MSTR, and you're going to see that inflows are high from an institutional standpoint. So institutions are already positioned inside MSTR and BMNR, and that changes the storyline long term. So over the weekend, obviously headlines broke, strikes involving Iran with explosions reported in and around Tehran. So whenever you hear Middle East escalation, money moves into defense mode and fear increases. And we've seen that oil is rising and risk comes off the table. And the risk off mood actually started before the weekend. It actually started on Friday. So if you were watching, we saw BMNR drop about 7 or 8% on Friday. MSTR dropped less, so we're going to get into that today very specifically. And I've got a lot of data for you today that's really good, and there's some great new stuff in here that I think you're going to enjoy. So remember, none of this is tax advice, financial advice, or legal advice. Do your own research, okay? So let's take a look at what's happening with BMNR and MSTR. First, let's look at the markets right now. The Dow Jones, it took a drop 1.1%. So the Dow is the top 30 companies in the U.S. Been around for a while. You got the S&P 500, the top 500 companies down 0.4% on Friday. You got Nasdaq 0.8% down 0.8%. All caps hard, and that tells you institutions were definitely reducing risk. Oil has already been moving higher before this Tehran crisis. And inflation concerns were rising as well. So the markets were tense, and then the weekend headlines accelerated it with the war going on. And of course, Bitcoin plummeted, but it shows you that there's support down there because buyers quickly dipped in and picked up Bitcoin at $63,000, and then the market shot back up to 67,000. So we're going to talk about that. Bitcoin was trading on Friday. We saw around 66 down to 65. And then you had the Tehran escalations. And so we saw a drop in the markets on Friday. We've seen a lot of volatility in Bitcoin, a lot in MSTR, and a lot in BMNR. We saw a big drop in BMNR on Friday. But I'm going to show you like who's jumping in and who's picking up the demand here. We've seen the same drops take place in Ethereum. So I'm going to show you some charts today. I'm also going to show you the trend of Ethereum, of where the support level is for Ethereum and where buyers typically step in. So we're going to get into that as well. MSTR dropped only a couple percentage points on Friday. It dropped less than BMNR. So it's not a collapse, but there's definitely clear pressure going on in the marketplace. If you were watching the market with BMNR, we saw a big drop down. The close was about $18.98 on Friday. So we've seen just lots of dropping in the market. Clearly, these stocks have not done well recently. If we look at Ethereum, Ethereum's down about 60%. BMNR is down about 61%. But we're going to take a look at right now at who actually owns MSTR and BMNR. If you look at the institutional ownership is about 59% with MSTR. So if you look over the last 12 months, you see that there's 803 institutional buyers. And then there's 412 institutional sellers. So what that tells you is more institutions are stepping in over the last several months. And there's more people that are buying with MSTR than selling in terms of an institutional framework. And if you look at the major holders right now, I'm going to show you on the screen. Here's the major holders. And this is in relation to BMNR we're going to jump into right here. So if you look at BMNR institutional holding, you got Morgan Stanley quarter over quarter change. It's plus 26% in their holdings if you look at the Merrick's group here, they've got a 60% increase. If you look at ARK, they've increased their portfolio. BlackRock as well, 165% with BMNR. Goldman Sachs has increased their hold quarter over quarter by 588%. The Vanguard Group with BMNR, 66% up. Bank of America up 1,668% with an $85 million position. So you look at these positions anywhere from $330 million to $80 million with these institutions. Charles Schwab owns BMNR with $74 million here. Van Eck, $44 million. Cantor Fitzgerald, 104% increase quarter over quarter. Citigroup, 542% increase. So you're seeing lots of institutions that are loading into BMNR. Now, it doesn't mean that the price is doing well right now. Of course, we've seen a massive drop, but we're showing a huge institutional support and buying into BMNR over the last 12 months or so. So that's a big deal. And so there's clearly a desire for institutions to get access to BMNR and MSTR, which we're seeing in the numbers that I'm giving you here. So if you looked at Ethereum, Ethereum was trading around 2047. It dropped to 1841, and now it's rebounded about back to 1960. And then if you look at the MSTR numbers, Friday, the close, I just mentioned was down about 2.92%. So we're seeing lots of volatility in the marketplace, and changes in the marketplace for sure. Now, if you look at these different stocks, BMNR and MSTR, you're looking at a lot of institutions buying in here, and they're buying in because in certain elements they can't get access to Bitcoin or Ethereum. So the proxy for that is buying BMNR and buying MSTR. And so that's why you see a lot of institutional buying into this, because institutions want access to the crypto marketplace. And so we're seeing lots of institutions fall in by the number that I just showed you, and lots of interest in these stocks. So in terms of long-term for the price points of BMNR and MSTR, this is good news because there's lots of institutional demand here. Short-term, the price is super volatile, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing from a short-term perspective to actually pick up more shares or just pick up more gains trading MSTR and BMNR. So I'll show you that in a minute, okay? So these are good charts to look at. Also, if you take a look I'm going to show you this here. We'll go back. The Jane Street incident really is kind of big news in the market, and I'm going to show you right now from the get-go here. So if you've been following this at all, this was some news that came out a couple of days ago. But if you look at what's happened in the crypto marketplace and why crypto's going up or why crypto's going down, Jane Street was accused of insider trading that helped really collapse Terraform. So if you remember the Terra Luna, and you remember that coin, Terra Luna, there's a huge lawsuit that just was initiated recently in relation to Jane Street. And so it started off after a big lawsuit came out, and the trading company called Jane Street is being accused of cheating the market. And so back in 2022, there was a big crypto project. It was called Terra, if you remember, and it had a coin called UST. It also had a coin called Luna, and the UST was supposed to stay at like $1, but suddenly everything crashed. So it was supposed to be stable at about $1, and then everything crashed. And on May 7th, Terraform, which is the name of the company, they quietly pulled out 150 million in UST from a platform called Curve, which is like a money pool. And within about 10 minutes before anyone knew, there was another wallet linked to Jane Street that dumped $85 million in UST. So that helped push UST off its dollar peg, and that's why the whole thing crashed. So the moral of the story is UST was supposed to be super stable. It was supposed to stay around $1. And then when UST crashed, then the coin related to it, which is Luna, which is part of the same company, Terraform, Luna crashed as well. And then there was $40 billion gone in days. And so that was a huge, huge news in the marketplace. You remember this back in 2022, and before anyone else knew, there was a huge crash that took place, and it wasn't supposed to happen based on how the actual structure of these coins were created. And so Terra USD cryptocurrency is kind of a so-called algorithmic stablecoin, and it was supposed to be pegged to the dollar, but it wasn't. And so the sister token for this company was called Luna, and that also plummeted towards zero. So there's supposed to be some stability with the stable coin, which is Terra USD, and between the actual cryptocurrency coin Luna, and these two together were supposed to have some balancing going on with stability, and that didn't happen. And when the stability left, that was the $40 billion crash, and that hurt thousands of investors worldwide. Some lost their life savings. You heard about this years ago. This implosion created a huge chain reaction, toppled companies across the crypto sector, and then ultimately it was the culmination of the Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX exchange collapse. So that was news a couple years ago, and now there's a lawsuit coming down the pike here that's being initiated recently with Jane Street. Now, we don't know if these allegations are true, so it's very important to state that they are allegations. We'll find out, but people panicked. Everybody started selling, and that's where the $40 billion crash happened, and people lost their life savings. So Jane Street has been accused of insider trading, accused of it. We're not sure yet. We'll find out as it goes through the court process, and that's what created the collapse. So you're seeing that there's allegations that Jane Street used secret information to trade before everyone else and make money. And there's another pattern that's been noticed on this. So this is not just about 2022. So if you take a look at these charts here, it's very interesting on these charts. And what you're going to see on these charts is for months, every single day at the same time, Bitcoin would suddenly drop. So if you see these drops that are circled here in yellow, you see that Bitcoin would drop at the same time every single day. And people believed that this was an algorithm at work. People thought, it was some bot that was taking place in the marketplace, and that was creating crashes in the price and liquidating traders, and you had people buying it back cheaper, and it kept repeating over and over again. But here's the crazy part: the day the lawsuit came out, in terms of the accusations that have been made with Jane Street, that 10 a.m. crash stopped. And so this is just interesting data in the marketplace, and Bitcoin went up. And so if you see at the next chart, you'll see that Bitcoin's actually going up versus at the 10 a.m. times where Bitcoin was crashing at that time. At 10 a.m., Bitcoin would crash, it would crash, it would crash. And then you see these charts, there's a complete change where Bitcoin's going up after the lawsuit happened. So who knows how this is going to affect Bitcoin long term. When the lawsuit came out, Bitcoin had one of its best days in months. Markets turned green, things started rising, but we're still seeing Bitcoin chop with the macroeconomic news that's going on with Tehran right now. And we know it's still in the 60s range. But this is just interesting data to be aware of. Was the market being pushed down on purpose? Maybe yes, maybe no. And if one company can move the market like this, then maybe not all price movements are real. And we know there's a lot of manipulation that's taking place in the crypto marketplace, and this could be one more case of it. So all of this to say that the data that I just shared with you, if you look at MSTR and you look at BMNR, the structural support is there from institutions. So you just saw all the institutions that I was sharing with you that have profited, not profited, but have layered in heavily quarter after quarter into BMNR as well as MSTR. So there's tons of institutional support for MSTR and BMNR. There's clearly a lot of support for Bitcoin. When the Tehran news just came out and it dropped to 63 and now it bounced back up to 67, we have people swooping in and buying. And so it's no secret that institutions are just part of this game permanently now. And we're going to continue to see institutions layering into MSTR, BMNR, and also buying of Bitcoin and Ethereum in cases where they can do that. So that's interesting news. And now there's more investigations that are starting with the whole Jane Street thing. And again, these are accusations. We don't know if they're true, so we don't know the full truth yet, right? So we're going to see what happens as time goes on. Here's what I just showed you, the number of institutions that are holding BMNR, massive list here if you're just joining us of just mega players quarter after quarter layering into BMNR. Morgan Stanley, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Vanguard, 457 institutions already own this, okay? And they're still adding more. Now, if you look at this chart, this is an interesting chart to take a look at here. And we're looking at, let me just remove this for a second. So we're looking at the chart here with ETH, and pretty interesting if you take a look here, because what you're seeing here is a time frame from 2020 to 2026. And if you zoom out a little bit, Ethereum has touched the same zone around 1800 again and again for 5 years. So take a look here. These little green dots here are showing you the kind of support level of where Ethereum has reached for the last 5 or 6 years at the $1,800 mark. And so we've been hitting this recently into the 1800s. If you go back in 2025, we had hit it. If you go back earlier than that, we hit it. 2022-ish, we hit it. 2021, we hit it. So it's showing that there's massive support down here in the $1,800 level for Ethereum. And we'll see, maybe this is the floor where it bounces off of 1,800 continuously. Maybe it dips into the 1,700s. We'll see. But this is what's happening with ETH. And it's touched the same zone here around 1,800 for the last 5 years. So that's interesting data to look at if you're wondering where the floor might be or could be. No guarantee of it, but it's where buyers are continuously stepping in. And that's what's called the sweet spot here. And if you look at 2018 to 2026, if you look at ETH and you zoom out even more, Ethereum's still on an uptrend. So if you take a look at this chart here, you'll see this blue line going up. So it shows over the last 8 years, there's an uptrend going for Ethereum. So we've been privy to these massive drops in Ethereum. These 50% drawdowns are no secret to Ethereum. They're something that happens quite often. Ethereum is down 60% now. But look at this trend over the long period of time of Ethereum going up. So that shows a positive foundation for Ethereum, a positive trend for Ethereum, and long term, I'm still bullish on BMNR, MSTR, ETH, and Bitcoin. So when you zoom out at it, that's what the data shows. It shows the uptrend, and we could be near the bottom of that trend. So when you combine everything in terms of Ethereum, you got strong staking going on with BMNR. In particular. So BMNR is staking a large percentage of their ETH. About 2/3 of their ETH is being staked. It's generating a couple $100 million for the company. You got big institutions buying BMNR and MSTR. You got BMNR with no debt. They've got strong support zones. So this definitely isn't weakness. This is positioning. Now, clearly, as somebody who owns the stock, look at the price. The price is total garbage right now at $19.24. From our 60-something highs. But I'm going to show you something here to take a look at in terms of technical analysis that I think will be interesting for you to see. Because if you look at the technical analysis on BMNR, I'm trading this on every couple of days I'm trading this. And so if you zoom out and you look at this on a daily basis, this is pretty interesting. The daily charts, so changes that are happening in the stock on the daily. If you look out here, you look at the last kind of bullish time frame for BMNR here is in this blue zone here. So the blue means obviously the price is going up and it's bullish. And so you look in October 7th. Remember we had the October 10th collapse. And so look what happens here. We go yellow, and when you're yellow, this is when I stay out of trades for BMNR. So I'll sell out of the position and I'll stay out of it. And if you look at this was where I'm circling here. This was at $53. The signal was on the daily charts to get out of BMNR. And you look at this, and all the way down, there's not another signal to get back into BMNR. There's still not a signal on the daily to get back in. We're still yellow at $18 or $19. So just having this technical analysis is super important, so you can see like what's happening with buyers and sellers. Nobody can predict the markets, but this is sure darn good to be able to know what's going on. Now, I am trading my BMNR position, so I am not in my BMNR position right now. I'm in and out of it. And so I'm trading in and out of it so that when this turns on the daily here, this is when I'll enter back into my positions for BMNR. And right now, there's no turn on the daily. Now, if you go to the 2 hour, this is what I trade on a consistent basis, which is the 2 hour. Again, if you want more data on this, you can click down below. I've got a full video on how I'm picking up more gains and trading on a daily basis. I had a huge week on trading this past week. And so you can grab that down below for free with my book for free, and you can snag that now. But I want to show you on the 2 hour, this is super, super, super good stuff, right? And by the way, this analysis is this is trading view. So if you wanted charts like this, you would have to have trading view, and these indicators are for invest answers. So I'm giving credit where credit is due. But I was just showing you the daily. I trade this on a weekly basis too, and this is the 2 hour charts. So it moves every 2 hours. And you can see that I got out of BMNR. I was trading it on Thursday. It was around $20.90. And I rode this all the way down here to it went down to about $18.90. So if one had held the position at $20.90 and sold out and then bought back in at $18.90, then you would have picked up somewhere around 7 or 8% on BMNR on that drop. And so this is what I'm doing with the stock. I'm picking up gains with BMNR. If you had a position where you want to buy back in short term to BMNR, you would have bought in here, and this was at about $19.25, where yellow goes to blue, and then you ride it up, and then you was sold out somewhere around here, $21. So this is 19.31 to 21. That's another approximate 8% gain. So we're just cleaning up, me and my community, on this stuff, because look how clean these indicators are. It's just one of the easiest things to trade right now because it's so clear. It's just yellow to blue, blue to yellow. You look at this, right? This is when to get in and when to get out. And it's super, super clean. So I share this with you because during these crises that are going on with, you know, the Tehran crisis and the tariff crisis, there's always a freaking crisis, man. There's the Jane Street thing where there's a lawsuit going on. There's like crisis after crisis after crisis. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here in the markets and just wait. I'm going to continue to trade. When it goes yellow to blue, you see here, I buy in. When it goes blue to yellow, I sell out. And that's my basic strategy on this. Okay. Same damn thing for MSTR. If you look at this, same thing. I was trading both of these this week. Very, very similar. If you look at the charts now, BMNR on the 2-hour charts that we've been using has been extremely, extremely accurate for the last 3 months, more than 3 months on the 2-hour. And if you look at MSTR, the 2-hour is getting super accurate over these this last 30 days. I've been trading the hell out of it. And it's so clean. Yellow to blue, you buy into MSTR at this price point, 125. And then you sell out right around here when it was 128. And then you buy back in here when it's about 126. And you just, every couple days, I'm placing a trade with these stocks. So this is, I'm still extremely bullish long-term on MSTR and BMNR, but I'm just trading them on a daily basis right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting in, I'm getting out, and I'm picking up more money from my bags so that when we turn on the daily, now this is interesting on MSTR, you see a kind of little blue turn here on the daily. If you look here, it's kind of turning blue, but barely. So these moves that are like baby blue, I wait for a fat or a thicker move. Like that's a thick yellow. This is kind of a thick blue, but not really. So I wait for thicker moves to make the move. And so I'm not going to buy back into my MSTR position for long term until this turns blue. And it's barely inking blue right now. So it's not a fully bullish sign for a breakout yet we are seeing higher lows with MSTR. So I'm paying attention to that right now. Like the markets tanked, and BMNR tanked on Friday, but MSTR did not really. It closed around 129 after hours, close to 130. So that's the gist. If you're looking at this, again, if you're just joining us, this is how I'm making decisions from a long-term investing standpoint. I'm looking at the daily charts. All right. And so these are, if you look at this on MSTR, you were, per the charts, you would have gotten out of MSTR on the daily right around here. You would have been you would have gotten out if you really look at it here. There's an indicator here. There's a little move to get back in, but this is when the indication said to get out of MSTR on 388, 392 price point on the daily. You might have gotten back in for a little run down here. And now hindsight's 2020. Like, I was holding out for MSTR to go up to 800, $900, but I'm now looking at these charts on the daily and the 2-hour to really pay attention so that I don't make the same mistake in the future. And so when you look at this here, it's a little baby get back in, but barely. You would have gotten back in at 162, gotten out at 168. And so this is just good stuff, man, to just look at this and you would have just been out of the trade on MSTR and then buy back in. So you don't have to be a wizard to figure this out. This is great technical analysis. Shout out to TradingView and Invest Answers for this technical charts here. And that's how I'm doing it. So that gives you the data on that. Now I'm going to give you some more insights into what's going on with MSTR and BMNR from the macro perspective and Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I hope this serves you because this has been very valuable in me making decisions. So I'm not flying blind. And technical analysis still freaking matters. It matters because This shows you who's buying. It shows you buyers versus sellers. It's that simple. It's not any more complex than that. So if you want more data on this, you can grab it down below. It's 100%. You can get my book for free. If you're new to MSTR and BMNR, you can get my book Money Game 100% free and snag it. If you want my trading strategy, it comes with it, a full video on how I'm trading on the daily and the weekly. And you can snag that down below as well. And let's get back into some of what's going on in the markets with this. So I'm going to show you some more stuff here of what's happening with Ethereum and BMNR. So we just looked at, you zoom out at 6 months and BMNR is down 61%. Ethereum's also down about 60%. But BMNR is simply following ETH. We know this, that BMNR holds Ethereum and ETH follows Bitcoin. And so if you look at the holdings of BMNR, it's got $9.6 billion in crypto. The majority of that is Ethereum that they hold. And you obviously know that they have a $200 million stake in Beast Industries. Beast Industries is actually starting up a financial advisory firm in finance, and they're going to capitalize on the younger generation because they attract the younger generation. They got 1 billion subscribers on YouTube, and it's a brilliant move. So BMNR aligning with Mr. Beast and Beast Industries is a brilliant, brilliant move, because you look at a lot of the people who are in BMNR right now, we know because we talk a lot of these people who book calls with us and want to learn what we're doing from a trading perspective. And most of the people I talk to are older in age. So this is going to capture the younger generation, which is great for crypto. It's great for BMNR, and it's a smart strategic move that was made by BMNR. Now you look at their holdings, 4.42 million in ETH. They got 691 million in cash plus other investments. So it's around 9.6 billion, as I just said. 3.66% of all Ethereum supply is what's being held by BMNR right now. Now, this is an interesting thing to take a look at because this is important. And the reason the trading volume is important, if you look at their rank in terms of their trading, they're ranked number 165 by their average daily dollar volume. So this is kind of the most important metric here to look at with BMNR, and I'll tell you why. Is their trading volume. This is the lifeline of the company. Now, why? Because BMNR raises money by selling shares in the marketplace. So more volume equals easier to raise money, which means when there's lots of liquidity in the market, lots of people are trading BMNR, then they have an opportunity to raise money faster. Less volume equals a problem. And so if we look at the charts here this is not a massive problem at this point. I would expect this to some degree, but if you look at the volume drop, it used to be $1.1 billion of their average volume in terms of the trading volume. Then it went to 1.2 February 8th, and now it's 1.2 billion down to 700 million. So that's a big drop in the trading volume of the stock. And it's important to pay attention to that because, again, we know that when there's lots of trading volume, there's lots of liquidity for BMNR, they can issue more shares in the marketplace and they can pick up more Ethereum. And that is their strategy. That's what these digital asset treasury companies do. That's what BMNR does. That's what MSTR does. That's their game plan. So you look at the drop here, volumes falling. It's something to watch closely with BMNR. Are they still buying? Yes, they are still buying. So they're still buying ETH. This week they bought around 45,000 ETH. Last week was around 40,000, but earlier they were buying 90,000 to 100,000 ETH. Now, some of this is to be expected, of course, because the market has dropped in its tank and the sentiment has definitely gone down for sure. So right now they're still buying, but it's slower. And this matters because when they start buying again, that usually means the bottom is near. All right. Now, and there's no crystal ball in this. This is why I was showing you technical analysis just now. I'm just literally looking at the charts of is the buying pressure more or the selling pressure more? And that's how I'm making decisions right now. And anything else that's coming out of my mouth and anybody else you're hearing talk about it, whether it's Tom Lee, whether it's Saylor, of course, long-term, listen to those guys because over the 4, 5, 6 year time horizon, MSTR and BMNR, I believe, are incredible bets. I also believe that Ethereum and Bitcoin are, not financial advice, but long-term, yes, listen to the perspective, listen to the number of institutions that are buying, listen to these leaders in the marketplace who continue to do what they say they're going to do. But in terms of price prediction, the only thing I'm looking at is the charts right now in technical analysis. I am not listening to anybody because if you're listening to opinions, that's where you get in trouble. So I'm just giving you data and facts. And again, if you're wondering what I'm looking at, again, I am looking at this technical analysis and this only, and this is how I'm making decisions. Literally crushed it this week on trading, crushed it. All right. because I'm making decisions based on charts and analysis and not opinions. And in the long term, I'm looking at the viewpoint of the strength of these companies for sure over the long term, because the strength of these companies is massive, and nobody is going to catch BMNR in terms of owning more Ethereum. Nobody's going to catch Strategy in terms of owning more Bitcoin in terms of digital asset treasury companies. And you look at the staking, BMNR staking has gone way up. You look from 217 all the way down to, or 12.8 up to 217. You look, they've been staking more and more. So they've now got over 3 million Ethereum locked. That's huge, huge. And the number hasn't gone down. It's staying strong. So that means people are not selling. They are holding and earning. So a lot of ETH is being staked. And so if you look at how much money they make, these are good charts to show that BMNR is now staking over 3 million ETH. And if you look at their total supply, 4,422,000 of ETH that they actually own, and you look at the revenue increase here that's going up about $249 million from their staked ETH, that's a pretty big deal. Okay. So there's lots of revenue coming in from their staking of Ethereum, which is good for the network of Ethereum. It's good for knowing that long-term BMNR is going to stick to their strategy. And these are the long-term things we want to look at for the next 5-6 years as somebody personally who believes in BMNR in the long term. Okay. So they make about 187 million per year. Actually, I think it's more than that right now. I think it's over 200 million. And that's close to about 500,000 every day just by holding ETH. All right. If they stake everything fully, they could be up to 249 million. So that was actually, let me correct myself here. So this number here, lower right, 249 million means if they stake everything. Okay. So that's pretty cool to know in the marketplace with BMNR. And it gives you an idea of the future potential of revenue that could come into BMNR. And so now we know that BMNR holds Ethereum, which is a good thing. And the fact that they hold Ethereum, they're also getting income coming in. So in terms of the value of the company goes way up in terms of the future perspective, because they're not just holding the asset, just like we've got MSTR is holding Bitcoin, and that's what they do. And MSTR's genius company, genius strategy that they have going on. But what makes BMNR a little bit different is they're bringing in income every single day because they're staking their Ethereum. Okay. So interesting in the marketplace, if Ethereum goes to 3,000, they could make $1.6 million per day on staking. If it goes to 12,000, they could make 5 million per day on their staking. So to think that institutions are paying attention because of this shows the strength of the company with BMNR in a major, major way. And that's billions of dollars every year. So long-term for the value of the stock, from my personal viewpoint, that is massive for BMNR, right? Which is one of the reasons I started talking about BMNR 6 months ago and trading BMNR over the last 6 months. I've been invested in MSTR and started investing in MSTR in 2024. I actually bought my first shares in 2020, sold out on it, then started buying in again in 2020 and 2024 around lower $100 price point. Okay. But recently I'm trading it to pick up more gains from trading the stock. Okay. So here's what's going on. If you look at the company's strength, this gives you some data on the strength of the company, and we're going to take a look at the total value. So the total value is around $9.1 billion. And that means that it's, we're looking at 691 million of cash, zero debt. It has a small team. This is what we call, a fortress in terms of the company. And if we go back to Bitcoin for a second, because the next chart shows you something kind of interesting here. This shows you the total supply that's in profit for Bitcoin. So if we look at the total supply and profit for Bitcoin, obviously it's not that good right now. If you look at the black line, that's Bitcoin price. If you look at the yellow, that's the total supply you're looking at the total supply down here of people that are in profits. And so the yellow line's not speaking too well for it right now, because we know that Bitcoin's at $66,000, right? So there you have it. So there's some good data for you to take a look at of what's going on in the marketplace. I've got a few more things for you right now that I want to show. If you're just joining us, I highly suggest that you go check out my video down below. You can also get my book with it. Just like sitting here doing nothing for me is just not the game right now. I'm trading BMNR and MSTR on the daily and also on the weekly. And so you can get my book if you want to learn more about the stocks in general. But if you want to learn more about how I'm trading in and out, you can get my video down below, free 100%. You can just take a look at it, watch what I'm doing, and start to pick up some tips. It's not hard what I'm doing. It's very, very, very simple, and I've made it simple. Okay, so so a few things just to look at in terms of overall just BMNR and MSTR, and just get back to the long-term perspective on it. Again, the short-term price sucks, and there's no hiding on that. There's been a massive drop in the market. We know that that's the case right now. But if you just zoom out and you look long-term at these companies, right now, when you look at why institutions might want to buy into MSTR and BMNR, and why massive institutions hold these stocks. One, it is a proxy for Bitcoin or Ethereum, depending on which one you're buying. So sometimes these institutions can't go buy Bitcoin or Ethereum directly, so they buy MSTR and BMNR in its place. Secondly, the main way that these companies operate is they operate when they're trading at a premium, and that's why people want to own them. So you look at the net asset value of for BMNR of the Ethereum on their balance sheet, and ideally, one who owns the stock wants the stock to be trading at a premium, meaning that it's going up more than the Ethereum, the net asset value of the Ethereum that's on its balance sheet. So the stock is trading at a premium, it's trading higher. When the market's not doing well, we see dips where the stock price goes down below the net asset value of Ethereum in terms of BMNR. Now, that is a good buying zone, so to speak, not financial advice, but you see institutions coming in and they're swooping up and picking it up, because when you hold the stock, obviously you want it to go way up and you want it to be trading at a premium, because that's the differential. Like, I could just own Ethereum or I could just own Bitcoin. And like, why would I own MSTR and BMNR? I own it because when the stock's trading at a premium, you have these massive boosts where the stock goes way up, and it's more valuable then to hold MSTR or BMNR than it is to hold Bitcoin and Ethereum. But when the stock goes way down, like we've seen, and then the stock's trading not at a premium, but a discount. So MSTR trades at a discount below the net asset value of its Bitcoin. So essentially, that would be theoretically a good buying opportunity. So when you see institutions buying right now, I can only speculate to why they're buying. They want to get a good price on it, and they want to be buying it when it's trading at a discount. As a holder of it, you want it to go way up and be trading at a premium, because that's how you make your actual money. So when it's a rocket ride for BMNR and MSTR, it's a freaking rocket ride up. And when it's not, it's a rocket ride down. And that's the volatility that one's in. So if you're new to this channel, we talk a lot about MSTR and BMNR, but my philosophy has always been like, if you don't know about Bitcoin fully, you need to go get fully educated on Bitcoin first. Because if you don't understand Bitcoin, then my personal viewpoint, like if I didn't understand Bitcoin, I would have no business owning MSTR at all. Now, I've been invested in Bitcoin since 2018. Bought my first Bitcoin when it was about $3,000, and my first several Bitcoin at $3,000. And I've been buying Bitcoin since 2018 through 2026. Okay, my last purchase of Bitcoin actually was in 2023 when I bought a bunch of Bitcoin when it was around $30,000. So I've been invested in Bitcoin for a while, and so as I learned more and more about Bitcoin, I started studying MSTR back in 2020. And so one should actually understand Bitcoin before they start looking at MSTR. That would be the sequence. And with BMNR, one should understand Ethereum before they start investing in BMNR. Like from my viewpoint, the getting caught up in the wave when it eventually takes off again, because I do believe there's going to be a future where MSTR and BMNR just turbocharge again. I don't know when that year or day is going to come, but one should understand what they're invested in. And the reason why institutions like BMNR is because of the infrastructure with Ethereum. More and more institutions are building on Ethereum. So if Ethereum is going to be the financial rails of the new world of finance, then it makes sense to own a piece of those financial rails. And it also makes sense to own a piece of BMNR, which has the potential to go up higher than Ethereum when times are good. Now, I'm not saying one should. I'm saying that's the concept of why people are buying into BMNR. All right. And if you look at the rails, like this is the new world that we live in. I mean, the old financial institutions, how long it takes to send money is crazy. The security that exists today, the more and more we have with hackers and things that are happening in the marketplace, the more and more security you need. So the blockchain is super secure. Ethereum has never been hacked. It's never been shut down. So when you look at this, or I shouldn't say that on the hack, I should say it's never been shut down. So Ethereum has never been down for a minute. So when you look at institutions buying into BMNR or buying into Ethereum, it's because they believe that this is the stable blockchain that more and more companies are going to build on. And then you look at the future of the fact that organizations like Fidelity's and Schwab's, like if I can get a customer that's going to trade or buy 24/7, 365, that happens on Ethereum. That doesn't happen right now with Fidelity. You can't go in and buy anytime on Fidelity. The markets are closed on Saturday and Sunday. So in the current financial world, if you're a financial institution and you're trying to make a decision of where's the future going and where's the money going and where's the best play for me as a financial institution, it definitely is the blockchain because it's open 24/7, 365. So when you look at a candy shop, metaphorically, that's open 9 to 5 versus a freaking, worldwide distribution money network that's open 24/7, 365, there's no comparison. Would you like 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day or 24 hours a day? So the money is just going to move there because there's more money to be made. It's a given. That is one thing that I know is happening and will continue to happen into the future. That's why a lot of people are bullish on Ethereum. Okay. So the price drops don't determine or don't reflect the magnitude of the infrastructure that is being laid for the financial rails of the future, which is Ethereum and other blockchains, perhaps like Solana. I personally don't own any Solana. I also don't own any Ethereum. I'm big on BMNR, MSTR, and Bitcoin. So when you look at this, that's why a lot of financial institutions are moving on this. And then when you start to take a look at like where business is going to be done, it's going to be done on Ethereum. That's why institutions are building on there. Companies are building on there. You looked at the list of the number of people that are on there, from PayPal's to Deutsche Bank. There's so many different companies that are building on there right now because they see the future. And so long-term, 5-6 years out, this is the smart play for institutions. This is going to be an incredible company, BMNR. And I think it's going to be reflected in the stock price in the future. And then MSTR is a totally different, but also similar giant. They've clearly paved the way, and they were the pioneers before BMNR even existed in terms of the reorganization that they did to make BMNR a company that acquires Ethereum. I mean, who was the leader back in 2020? Michael Saylor deserves the credit because he pioneered and paved the way for digital asset treasury companies. And so when you look at his strategy that's evolved over the years, both of these companies have a similarity where they issue more stock in the marketplace. And when they issue that stock and people buy it, they take the money and they buy Ethereum or they buy Bitcoin. So that's the simplicity of it. And you want these companies trading at a premium when they issue more shares, because when they're trading at a premium, it's what's called accretive for the shareholders. It's good for the shareholders because they're getting you more Bitcoin per share or more Ethereum per share. And that's what you want. So when you hear these stories come out of like, hey, we're getting more Ethereum per share or more Bitcoin per share, Ethereum per share exists for BMNR. That's their strategy. And more Bitcoin per share exists for MSTR. That's their strategy because they own Bitcoin. So that is what you want. When you see them issuing shares in the marketplace, when it's trading at a discount, is it going to kill the overall strategy? No, not at all. Because most of the time the strategy is issued shares in the marketplace to acquire Bitcoin, it's been at a premium, which is really good for the shareholders. Most of the time BMNR has done it, it's been at a premium. There are probably times, if you look recently, where they have issued shares in the marketplace where the stock's been trading at a discount, and that is not good. All right. But in the main, if 90% or 95% of the times they've done it is issued more shares when it's accretive for shareholders, then in the main, it's good. And they're sticking to their strategy and they're buying more Bitcoin, they're buying more Ethereum, depending on the company that we're looking at right now, BMNR and MSTR. And it's good. And so it's very, very, very bueno for the long term. Make sense? So that's long-term viewpoint and long-term perspective on these companies. MSTR is a different kind of animal. And the distinction between these two is they both issue shares in the marketplace to pick up more of their respective coins, Bitcoin for MSTR, Ethereum for BMNR. But there's a difference because when you look at what Saylor has done with MSTR, he's issuing preferred stock in the marketplace, preferred shares in the marketplace. And this has really changed the game in the world of finance. And this is why this company long-term is extremely, extremely solid, extremely solid. But it doesn't change the volatility of the crazy ups and the crazy down. That's what these companies are, extremely volatile. But the reason why long-term their strategy, pun intended, is unmatched is because he has essentially created digital products, or products, I should say, in the marketplace, financial products, and the different kinds of preferred stock. And so when you look at strategy of why they're so brilliant and they're literally going to dominate the financial world into the future, is because they're creating different kinds of vehicles for different kinds of people. If you look at these preferred stocks like Stretch and Stride and Strife and Strike, they're designed more for the conservative investor who wants that 10% per year. And that's how these stocks are designed. If you look at Stretch, people have compared it to a money market account, even though it's not a money market account at all. But Stretch is gobbling up a lot of the money market dollars that are out there in the marketplace. And so there's trillions of dollars in money markets. And so as strategy gets more and more well-known, more and more trusted, as they continue to do what they say they're going to do, you're going to see a lot of people who are retiring in the future, and they're going to look at it and go, should I put my money in a money market that's doing 3, 4, 5%, or should I put it in something like Stretch that's doing 10%? Now, it fluctuates a little bit with these preferred stocks, but these vehicles that he's now created for the marketplace are going to pick up different kinds of investors. So you're going to see these fixed income products that are, they're not fixed income per se, they're preferred stock, but they're more fixed. And so people have the appetite who want high volatility, MSTR common shares. People who have lower appetite for volatility, they're going to go towards the preferred stock that's 10% in the main. Okay. And so you're seeing a giant in the marketplace of strategy that is picking up all kinds of different demographics that are out there. So if you look at our parents who are retiring, and you look at the older generation, because inflation is so high, because taxes are so high, because asset inflation, the purchasing of homes or the cost of college educations are so high, 5% in bonds or 5% in money markets or 5% doesn't cut it when people try to retire. So you're going to see more and more of the older generation moving towards products that strategy has created. And when Bitcoin becomes the asset on the planet, which it's not there yet, right? There's still many skeptics on Bitcoin. If you go talk to your parents, they might be skeptics, but more and more people are owning it. We got my 82-year-old stepfather educated on it. He owns it. So when you look at more and more people in the marketplace, there has to be products out there that can do 10%, hence Stretch and Stride and Strife created by strategy, that allow people in their later years to retire. And that's why strategy is going to continue to thrive into the future. Now, as it goes for their stock price, as the company gets bigger and bigger and bigger, more trusted, more trusted, more trusted, gets more and more financial products out there, more and more people will buy the stock, and more people will invest into the preferred stock as well to get more conservative returns. And that's why they're going to own the freaking marketplace. And then when you look at, like, they're able to issue these products in the marketplace because they're backed by Bitcoin. And so one who understands Bitcoin and why Bitcoin is deflationary versus inflationary, which makes it very different than assets out in the marketplace. Even gold that's had its massive run. People are looking at gold. Gold's had this massive run up recently, and it has. But if you look at the long-term prospects of what's a better play, it's just my point of view, Bitcoin, because it's deflationary. Gold over the last 10, 15 years, go look at the rates of return. Okay. So, and gold, there's more supply of gold every single year. And you really got to look at that. So when you're mining 2% more gold every single year, eventually, if you have more supply of something, that makes the value less. With Bitcoin, then we know there's a fixed supply. And so people who start to understand this in the marketplace, and they really start to get Bitcoin, and they really start to understand it, and they look at strategy and they're going, strategies creating financial products in the marketplace that are backed by the most pristine asset on planet Earth, that will be the most valuable asset, in my opinion, on planet Earth in the future. Then they're issuing financial products backed by that. Nobody, I think, in the financial world is going to be able to compete with them. There will be people who manipulate it, try to get access to strategy, try to do things similar to what they're doing, but they own the most pristine asset on planet Earth, which is Bitcoin. And so into the future, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, strategy is going to be a monster, freaking monster. Now, if you flip the coin on this and you actually look at BMNR, why BMNR is going to be a monster as well. If you look at what they're doing in the marketplace strategically, and if you want more on this, if you don't know a lot about BMNR and MSTR, you can grab my book. It's 100% free down below. It talks all about this. But to give you the cliff notes on it, if you look at why BMNR is a beast, right? They are different than Strategy, similar in the fact that they issue shares in the marketplace at a premium is the main goal for them to do it at. Sometimes they don't, and they buy more Ethereum. But on top of that, they're really investing also in the infrastructure of the blockchain. So while MSTR just holds Bitcoin, you look at Tom Lee and his vision, they're investing in the infrastructure of the blockchain and also the future of it. Hence, owning Ethereum, the financial payment rails, but also additionally investing in companies like Beast Industries. And when you look at why I believe are number one, to doing a bit of a way. Beast $100 million investment into it. Beast Industries, if you take a look at the really active people on social media across the planet, on Facebook, there's maybe 3 billion, YouTube, maybe 3 billion. I'm giving you a guesstimate here. There's 1 billion subscribers in Beast Industries. Most of the people that I run into throughout the marketplace that I talk to about BMNR and MSTR are a little bit older. And we see that the younger generation is kind of not privy or as much into these stocks of MSTR and BMNR based on what I've seen and also based on what I've seen from the research that BMNR has done. And so Beast Industries opens up a whole nother demographic of 1 billion subscribers, mostly the youth. And as you see, the future of our society will be the youth and what they do with their money. Now, Beast Industries is starting an entire financial company that will serve the younger generation. So when you look back at this, it's like, decades and decades ago, it was like Schwab was known for like our parents and things like that. And that was a trusted institution. It's still a great institution. Then you look as we've evolved, and then like Robinhood came out, and Robinhood was more progressive for a different generation. But now you look at Beast Industries, and they're going to take over the younger generation. And that's where money's going to move. So by BMNR aligning their interests with a company like Beast Industries, they get to expand the demographic that they're reaching. Hence, more people interested in crypto, more people interested in BMNR, owning a larger share of mind in the marketplace will get more investors into BMNR. And BMNR will not only be a freaking behemoth based on the data I just shared with you from the number of institutions that own BMNR right now. It's staggering. In quarter after quarter, the increase of institutions owning BMNR, it's massive, the increase, okay? So not only are institutions big investors in BMNR, but now you have a whole nother younger generation that's going to become aware of it because of Beast Industries. And then, of course, you've got Ethereum as the financial rails of the blockchain. And, you're not going to build with the current financial system. The current financial system is ridiculous. It takes 2 days to send money. Settlement takes a day or two. It's crazy. It's too slow. And with the younger generation that acts on speed and was literally, came out of the womb with an iPhone, they're not going to tolerate the slowness of the current financial rails, which is the current traditional finance, nor in the world that they live in with inflation that's just staggering, despite what the Federal Reserve says, where inflation's around 2 point whatever percent. Despite what they say, the inflation's been staggering. The amount of money printing that's taken place in the last 5 years as a result of COVID, what that's doing to destroy the dollar. And so the money printing is staggering. If you look at houses, for people to go invest in houses, inflation is not just 3% like they report when the chair of the Federal Reserve comes out and talks about inflation. It's not actually including asset prices like housing in there in terms of people who are buying homes. And so when you look at the price of housing going up over the years, asset inflation is massive. So the cost for the younger generation, the timeline for them to buy houses is getting pushed way back because the cost is too freaking high. The cost for college education that's enslaving the younger generation in debt, all these costs and inflation are going to make the younger generation not look at the traditional financial industry, which has literally put our country into the situation that it's in, but they're going to look at a faster, more proven, more digital, more secure, more 24/7, 365 network, which is Ethereum, which is the blockchain, which is also Bitcoin. And they're going to go towards influencers that they know, like Beast Industries, that have share of mind already. And they're going to put their money with people that they trust and they know that are faster, younger, smarter, and are using the digital technology in the marketplace today, unlike the older institutions that are slow and now are starting to move to the blockchain because they know that's where the future is going. So it's a very interesting transition we're going through, but it is happening. It is happening, and there is no if anybody looked at the data, there's no dispute that the future of the blockchain is here and it's here to stay. The future of Bitcoin is here and it's here to stay. Now, who will be the winner in terms of it? Will it be Ethereum? Will it be Solana? But it's already determined. Like Bitcoin is the winner in its space. There won't be another Bitcoin, as far as I'm concerned, in the next 10 years, 20 years. And they're going to be so far ahead at that time. So with Ethereum, who will win the rails? Well, we know that most financial institutions are voting by moving onto Ethereum blockchain. Some are on the other blockchains as well. So there's definitely lots building on Solana and so forth and so on. But that will be the future, in my opinion, Ethereum, which means BMNR and MSTR have a bright future. So in the short term, we stomach it. We deal with the horrible and horrific price right now. I'm definitely not sugarcoating that. But again, if you're just joining us, I am purely paying attention to technical analysis as it relates to this. And that is all I'm looking at in the short term right now as I'm making my decisions on MSTR as well as the charts here with BMNR. And there is just clear for me, I'm trading it on a daily basis, and there is just a clear charts here. This is Trading View and Invest Answer. So if you ever want to get this tech, that's where you go. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever, but if you want to get the tech, that's where you go. And it's very clear. Yellow to blue means buy in, blue to yellow means sell out. And I've been doing this with this tech for a while, and I will continue to do it because I'm not going to sit here while on the daily chart. If you look at BMNR, it's still extremely bearish. Look at this. Look how yellow it is. So when it turns blue, I'll enter back into my positions for the long term. But in the meantime, I'll just trade in and out and pick up more gains. So that's what I'm doing right now during the Tehran crisis that's going on, war that's breaking out, tariffs that are there, Jane Street with allegations getting sued. I mean, there's a new thing every day. And again, nobody knows what's going to happen with price in the short term, but using this technical analysis and charts really shows me where are the buyers, where are the sellers, and it helps me make moves in the short term. So if you want that, you can snag down below for free a video that I have that goes in depth into that. But overall, I still believe that Saylor has an incredible strategy with MSTR long term. I believe that Tom Lee has an incredible strategy with BMNR and Ethereum long term. They're unmatched. Nobody's going to catch BMNR. Nobody's going to catch MSTR. And they're just brilliant, brilliant innovators of our time. And we'll look back 5-6 years ago, 5-6 years from now, and people will look back and go, wow, like look at what these companies have done, and even a decade from now. And I'm sure 5 years from now, we'll still have a massive run up in MSTR and BMNR, and we'll have a rundown. It's been happening every 4 years. We thought we were going to avoid the 4-year cycle this time. We did not. There's still lots of people who think that, things are going to happen for BMNR in 2026 and MSTR. It could, totally could. I'll just look at my charts and find out when it's going to happen, because I will know when I look at the charts, and I'll be able to make the right decisions. So I hope this serves you. I'll have an amazing rest of the day. If you could subscribe to the channel or like it, it helps get this out to more people. That's my mission, to just literally get knowledge about Bitcoin out to more people, knowledge about Ethereum to more people, and get people in the new money game. If you could like the channel, that'd be super helpful. If you want to grab my book for free and you're new to this channel, you can get it for free. Down below, it talks all about the history of money. It talks about the Federal Reserve. It talks about Bitcoin, Ethereum, MSTR, BMNR, and it goes through the basics so one can fully understand the future of money. And I think it's been a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time writing it, and it's free for you, so you can snag it. And I hope to see you on the next show. I believe I'm going to be going live again tomorrow. I don't know what time, but I will let you know. And I hope you have a great rest of the day, and hang tough. It's a tough time right now. And again, not sugarcoating it. It's a crappy time right now. It sucks when it drops. Nobody likes to see the price like this. So I hope things are going well for you and your family, and I'll see you on the next live.